Welcome everyone. Welcome first timers. Welcome some of the repeat people that we see in the attendee list. Without further ado, today we're going to get right into it. We've got, I think, a really good session lined up, and we have with me in the garage Sue Berry. Sue Berry is a product expert for the mobile development kit, and she's going to be spending a few minutes. As you know, the format for the garage is very simple. We take 6-7 minutes to kind of give you the marketing pitch on mobile or on the product of the day, in which case it's mobile development kit. And then we're going to do 35-40 minutes with a really crisp, clean, hands-on exercise. So today we'll be building a small mobile app using the MDK. And of course, we always have lots of questions, and Derek Hayford is on the line with us as well, and he's going to be manning the Q&A booth. And we even have one of our product owners with us today as well. So if we get really, really deep, we've got lots of good coverage. So feel free to, any questions you have, bring it. So do you want to say hi?
Sure. Hi, I'm Sue Berry. I'm a product manager with the Mobile Development Kit.
Awesome. Thank you. And Derek, you want to say a quick hi?
Hello, everyone. I am a solution engineer with our pre-sales.
Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, so without further ado, let's, what I want to do first is just do a quick audience poll. These polls, everyone, are very quick. They're going to be about 30 seconds. It just gives us a quick idea before we start the session in terms of who's who and if you've been here before. So if you can take a minute, well, not even a minute, 30 seconds is what you're going to get to answer the poll. 30 seconds. I'm watching my timer, and then we're going to go on and see the result of that just to kind of see. Going to click next now, and while you're doing that, we did have a challenge in the last garage session to see who was using the app that we built with the Mendex software through the web modeler, and we've picked 7 people, and I think there might even be, I think there's 2, maybe 1 or 2 that are not on that list. So you'll be contacted very shortly, because we just got, as you can see, we just got our t-shirts in for the cloud platform, one of a kind special t-shirt. So you are going to receive one of those, the people on this list, maybe plus 1 or 2 more. And then let's take a quick look at the poll. So you can see we've got, at the moment, around a 70-30 split. So first time attending a garage session, which is awesome. And the other 30% of the people thought it was worth it while to come back. So this is amazing. So second poll of the day. This is really important for us because we're right in the middle of crafting our topics for next year. So these are the ones that I thought were top of mind as I visit customers across North America in my role as one of the lead architects for the Center of Excellence. And so these are the ones that are coming up and the ones that were raised at TechEd. So what we'd like you to do, if possible, select 3. And if I've omitted a topic that you don't see here, but you think to yourself, I really like to have the garage talk about that next year, then just put it in the group chat, because down below there's a group chat pod. You can just kind of start that and write it in there separately, and we'll look at those towards the end and potentially swap something out if there's a lot of requests for something. So that's where that sits. Let's take a quick look at what people are asking about. So this is interesting. We've got cloud elements towards the top, enterprise messaging. We've got backend as a service, mobile cards and iOS SDK, UI5 and evolution. Yeah, this is a really interesting topic for me as well. So for sure, we're going to cover that next year, just because I want to. It's going to be good. Application programming model, it's a good one, and B2B. Okay, this is really good feedback. So thank you for that. And so, without further ado, we're going to hand the presentation portion over to Sue. I've been very clear with Sue. She knows the rules. She gets 6-7 minutes, and then I just shut her down. But she's pretty awesome with her content, so I'm not too worried. But anyway, Sue, over to you. 6 minutes, 7 minutes begins now. Timer.
Sure. Thanks, Scott. So I'm just going to go through a quick overview of the Mobile Development Kit for those that are not familiar with it yet. And standard legal disclaimer, things may change, but everything that I tell you is currently planned. Oh, there's another poll question. So has anybody ever heard of the Mobile Development Kit before today's session?
Right, I forgot about that one. So we'll just do a quick poll. So you know when you're going through, like how many people on the phone have heard of the MDK before, and we'll give it like 20 seconds, and we're going to go right to the next slide. No more than that, and I'm going to time it just to be precise to make sure people are really paying attention. So that's 10 seconds. Wait another 10, and we'll go right through it. Because we got things to do, right? We got things to do.
Yep.
Got an app to build.
To build.
A native application, no less. All right, let's go to the next slide. What happened there? I don't see. Oh, it's actually the reverse. What happened there? I put them in the wrong order. Have you ever heard? So we got 100%. I don't know how many people answered that, but 100% of the people have heard of the MDK. So people are pretty anxious then to get more details, which is awesome. Okay, so let's just pop you over to here, Sue. It's all yours.
Okay, great. So since you guys are familiar with it, I'll go through this quickly, but just for those that aren't and that didn't answer the survey, the Mobile Development Kit enables developers to build new native mobile applications and customize select SAP native mobile applications in a highly productive environment. It's cross-platform native development, and this means that the developers build the app one time in the MDK editor, and then they're able to deploy it to both their Android and their iOS devices. The Mobile Development Kit provides robust offline capabilities and business logic, and there's mobile qualities such as camera attachments and the barcode scanner. And we have an application from SAP that was developed using the Mobile Development Kit, and that's SAP Asset Manager. And if you're not familiar, Asset Manager, it's a pre-built app, and it's meant for asset-intensive industries such as utilities. And the nice thing about it is that customers can fully customize this app and tailor it to specific business needs using the Mobile Development Kit. And if you build your own apps, you get that same level of customization after the fact as well. So for Mobile Development Kit, the iOS client, it's already generally available. It's available on the SAP community and the Apple App Store. And then the Android client, if you're interested in Android development, we have an early adopter care program that you can sign up for and participate in our MDK 3.0 early adopter care program and get that cross-platform native development. So why would you use the Mobile Development Kit? Well, one, it provides the power and performance of native applications. It's Android and iOS applications, but it also allows the developers to build those applications quickly and cost effectively. The development process is visual, and this means that it speeds development, it lowers the learning curve, and we provide these visual wizards and tools to help that best practices are built into the development process. The new applications that you built on top of it will be based on the Fiori design principles, so you get this amazing user experience. And then changing things like business logic or the UI, it's just a matter of simply doing drag and drop, updating properties, and leveraging our wizards to be able to make those changes. And then once you're ready to deploy the application, it's done with a few clicks, and then the mobile client receives the update without the user having to take any action. So just to dive into the architecture just a little bit, Mobile Development Kit, it's a feature of SAP Cloud Platform Mobile Services, and so we actually leverage its enterprise capabilities. The Mobile Development Kit client works directly with Cloud Platform and mobile services, and it provides an offline store, app definitions, a metadata interpreter, the lifecycle management, and then also it has the Fiori for iOS and Android controls in the client. The editor itself is part of SAP Web IDE, and it connects directly to mobile services for those app update deployments. And if we just go a little bit deeper and take a look at the three main personas, the first one that we have is the app designer. You can see it at the top left of the screen there and the architecture slide. And so the app designer creates the MDK project in the MDK editor. And again, that's a plugin within SAP Web IDE. And then they deploy that MDK project to mobile services via the app update feature. The admin, which is a little bit below the app designer there on the screen, the admin configures an app and mobile services of type Mobile Development Kit. And at that point, mobile services can communicate with Web IDE, where the project resides, the backend where the data resides, and then also the mobile services client where the app user views the app. And then finally, toward the bottom left, you see the app user. And the app user accesses and interacts with the MDK app via that mobile services client. And the reason why I mention that detail is because we're going to touch all three of those today. Okay, and then like I mentioned, all the applications are developed within SAP Web IDE. And then what we do with MDK is the editor takes SAP Web IDE's visual approach even further. The first thing you see here is the page editor. The page editor enhances the Web IDE's layout editor. And so you can create new pages, you can map actions, rules, backend objects, and elements directly to screen elements very easily without having to drop into the code editor. And then you have the object browser. The object browser helps you quickly search and locate your data objects and properties, your actions, your UI elements, rules, any kind of localization objects, and then map them to those screen elements. Okay, and then the action editor. The action editor allows you to create new actions such as navigation actions or data actions, logout actions, and it allows you just to follow the wizards. And then you find those actions in the object browser, and then you add them using the page editor. And then the last one, major area of the MDK editor is the rule editor. The rule editor makes use of Google Blockly, and it allows for a visual puzzle piece paradigm to complex rule logic. And I also call this scratch programming for adults because you just kind of put some puzzle pieces together and you get that business logic. But also it's flexible so that if you're more comfortable just writing JavaScript, you can do that too. You don't have to use the puzzle pieces to build the rule logic.
It sounds like something even I could do, Sue.
Yeah, well, and then now that all kids are learning Scratch in school, it makes it so that as they grow up, they can all be programmers using this tool.
I love it. I love it.
And then the last area that I want to cover is the client. The client, is what actually runs your application, and it can run that complex business logic. It displays native controls to the end users. And then regardless of whether the user is online or offline, they get the same experience, which is great. We leverage offline OData for that. It displays the latest Fury for iOS and Android look and feel to the end user. And because of the extensibility, like I mentioned, when you as a developer make changes to the application, you add new pages, you change fields around, and you redeploy that, the client can receive those new updates without the user actually needing to take any action. You can build in actions for them to take, like press OK, but by default, they can just update itself and the user doesn't need to reinstall anything. And then the mobile development kit supports today 8 languages, including Chinese, Danish, English, French, Norwegian, Portuguese, and Spanish. And I think I said English, hopefully. And then there are 3 ways that you can get the mobile development kit client. You can download the mobile services client from the Apple App Store. This is the quickest way to get started. You onboard via an email or a QR code, and it points to the app that you configured in mobile services. And this is what Scott's going to be using today. You can also build a client using the Cloud Build service. And here you can make a custom client. You can make minor customizations such as branding your own company name and icon and releasing that out to your end users. Or you can build a client on your Windows or Mac machine and have full client customization options available to you. So those are many ways that you can get clients out and get an app out to your end users. And so that was it for the quick overview.
Wow. So I think you might have, you're right on the money, Sue.
Mm-hmm.
That was amazing. So okay, so what we want to do then, just to kind of recap a couple of things that you said in there. So what I heard you say, which is really interesting for me, because I have I guess I would say a pretty strong mobile background. I came from Sybase many years ago, where I was a mobile consultant. I developed all kinds of mobile apps way back when. And so now what we're saying is, as a result of the MDK, we can do mobile development in a browser, and it ends up running as part of a native application running on an iPhone or an Android. And this is quite, to me, it's just incredible. And especially when you include some of the features that you mentioned. So anyway, let's get to it and show people how to do that. So I'm going to share my screen. Yeah. And just like you say, for the folks on the phone, you should have gotten a notice yesterday via email, kind of highlighting the prerequisites for today. And so I'm just going to refresh my screen here. And so some of the prerequisites, one of them was the mobile services client. And then there was a little bit of setup, and we had sent out a link to a video that would walk you through that setup. So if you're starting and you've done those prerequisites, you should almost be able to follow along almost perfectly today. But we're going to start right from square one in the cloud platform cockpit. So for those of you that haven't seen this before, that we're inside the cloud platform cockpit, and I've logged into the Neo environment because we just want to show you a little bit of the setup before we get too far, and then we'll jump right into building the mobile app in case you want to go back and watch the video. And for some of you, I put a little note in the chat window. We will be publishing the videos going forward onto YouTube. So if you want to go to YouTube, you can get them there and you can watch them live here today. So 2 ways to get them. Okay, so Sue, where do I go from here? So I'm starting from scratch. I want to come in here and I want to, get access to mobile services. What do I do now?
Great. Well, you're already in the right place. You're in services. And the first thing you can do is just type in mobile in the search.
All right.
And that filters it down. And we actually see 2 things that we're interested in. One is the Web ID full stack, and that's already enabled, and also mobile services. You want to make sure that one is enabled too. And let's start there. So if you click on mobile services.
Okay.
Okay, and then if you go to the service, and this is where you would go, and if you haven't already, you can configure mobile services to work with the mobile development kit.
Perfect. And just so people know, I already started the Web IDE full stack in another tab just to save us a minute or two. So that's already been started, but it is important to know, everybody on the phone, that it is the full stack. It's not the original Web IDE, because if you try to use the original, you won't find the MDK in there. So make sure you select the full stack as opposed to the original. Okay. All right.
Okay, so now that you're here on the left menu, you click on mobile applications, and then native and hybrid.
Okay.
Okay, and I know you mentioned you've already created your app, but let's just show the users how you would do it from scratch just for a few steps. So if you click on new here,
Sure.
if you're doing this from scratch, you click on new, you can select the config template of mobile development kit. That's very important.
Mm-hmm.
And then you give it an ID, and that's the ID that will be used in Web IDE and in the client. And then a name. And you can give it a description if you want, or everything else is just optional.
Got it.
And hit save. And then you get your mobile services app, and it's configured for mobile development kit. And the one thing, if we go over to security here, the main thing that you want to configure under security is OAuth. So when you click on it, you choose from the dropdown, you change it from SAML to OAuth.
Right.
And hit save, and then it creates that OAuth client ID for you.
Gotcha. And just to be clear with people, the link that we sent out has a video to run people through some of this initialization piece, and as well, you've got a blog out there, right, that walks people through this as well.
Yep, there's a video that walks you through the mobile services and Web ID setup, and then a blog that tells you how to onboard your App Store app.
Okay. Just gonna go back.
Yep, so if we go back and take a look at the app that you already built.
Yep, so I've got one here, and the only reason for the people on the phone that we've done this is that there's a bit of configuration to do here, which is in that video, so we didn't want to spend the time going through the setup of the mobile services client piece. So this has already been, some of it's already been done. But I guess we should talk about this notion of destinations, right? We want to talk about that a little bit?
Right, sure. So in mobile services, you can set up destinations that point to a specific backend. So if we click on that destinations menu on the left-hand side there, this is where you add all your destinations for mobile services. And I see that you've already added your garage attendees destination to point to your Furio data service.
Exactly. So just again, a small note for people that didn't attend previously. So we got 70% new people. So in the previous sessions prior to today, just quickly, we created a very small registration app that used workflow. So we could approve or deny people getting injected into a HANA database. So we used that before. We're going to use it again today. But at the end of the day, there was a HANA database which we exposed through an OData service, and the details of that OData service were also sent out in the email. So if you want to try it today as we're going through, it's there for you to use, no problem. And so that OData service has been put into this URL, and it basically says, hey, this is where you can go get that attendee information. But it's interesting, Sue, just one of the things that I've learned since I've started working with you is that when you look at the destinations here on the left-hand side, you can have many destinations, and then you can have one or more associated with the mobile app that you're building, right? So if we just go back here quickly, right, and I select my demo MDK, the one that we'll use today, you can see that there's some options on the right-hand side, and one of them is connectivity. And right, underneath connectivity, it points to the destination that we set up. So we've specified garage attendees, and that again, just to refresh, it points to that same HANA table that's been exposed through this OData service. And then right, and I know you've mentioned, go ahead.
I was going to say, and the way that you added that was you clicked on that plus sign there at above the table to the right, and you can see all of the available destinations, and you can add the ones that you want associated with this specific mobile services app.
Right, because that makes sense, right? Because you could have not all apps need access to the same back-end data, and some of them might use one data source and some of them might use two. Okay, so I can just close that down. Okay, so from here we go where?
So from here, our mobile services is configured. So let's go back to the Cloud Platform Cockpit and take a look at the services over there. Okay, so let's go back to your trial. And let's type in mobile again, and because we want to go to Web IDE.
So this is the one that people would, invoke. Same idea. You just click it, and then there's a go-to service. I happen to have already clicked that, so you wouldn't have to wait for it to load in the browser. And boom, here we are.
Great. And so the main thing, and again, just to be clear, it's Web IDE full stack, not the regular Web IDE. And the first time you come here, one of the things that you'll see is missing is Scott has highlighted over on the left-hand side this little shield icon with a star. That may not be there. And if that's not there, you want to go down to the gear icon, 3 icons down, which is the preferences, and click on that, and then click on features in that second menu. And you want to make sure that the mobile services app development tools plugin is enabled. So scroll down till you see that. Yep, the blue one. So the mobile services app development tools, it has the MDK editor as part of it. It has mobile cards. It has mobile backend generator. There are a few features that are available when you enable this plugin, and it's very important that you enable this one. And when you click save, it'll ask you to refresh Web IDE to bring in those features.
Right, and this is something I've been noticing that the Web IDE team now is introducing more and more of this notion of perspectives, which I guess is a carryover from the Eclipse days. But nonetheless, you can then click on, that perspective, and you just see the projects that are relevant to the MDK. Whereas if I click up here, you'll see that I've been busy doing some other things, including workflow from our last session. So I can click on the police shield and just get my projects for MDK.
Right, and it also filters the menu items too, so that you know that what you're clicking on is MDK specific.
Awesome. Okay, so now what? I mean, surely this is going to take us 3 or 4 hours, right, to build a native app, I'm sure.
No, we're going to do this in no time flat. And so if you right-click on Workspace, the first thing we'll do is we'll right-click and say New MDK Project.
Okay. This I can handle so far.
Okay, and just give your project any name that you want, whatever makes sense.
All right.
Okay, and you can give it a display name. It's optional, or leave it blank.
The original, right? Garage MDK.
Yeah. And then just finish. And once you click finish, what it's doing is it builds out the structure of your project. It's creating all the folders. It's creating a default action for you and a default page. And you can see that when you expand out your project, which I think you named Garage MDK.
Right. So this is generated quite a bit here, actually, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And if you expand out the page, you can see there's a default page there already that you can start adding to, or we'll create our own page.
Okay. But folks that have been using, like in the past, if anybody has used the Web IDE, the original version, and if have they been playing with the layout editor for UI5, they might find it looks a little bit similar with the controls and the outline and how you do a page, which is good. Okay.
Right. But one of the main differences is that the controls that you see are actually native controls. And when after you drag and drop those controls onto the page, normally with Web IDE, you would then go into the code editor and write out all the code underneath for any actions or any data properties. And here you don't have to do that. And we'll show you that.
It kind of sounds like you're saying that the MDK is better than the UI5 layout. That's what it sounds like.
we try and make it so you don't have to do coding for a lot of the things that you want to do.
That's awesome. That's good for me. Let's go. Okay, so what now?
Okay, so we want to allow our project to see one of the backend data that we want to have access to. So you go to Services folder, and you can right-click on it and say New MDK Service. And what this will do is we're going to provide a pointer to the destination that we created in mobile services. So we need to tell our project how to find that destination. Yep, so you can give it any name that you want. The service URL, when you enable mobile services, as part of the cockpit, it automatically creates a destination pointer to mobile services, and that's what you see here. And that's the one to use. That application ID is the application ID you added when you created your mobile services app for MDK. So let's go back over to mobile services and find your app.
Okay. So this is the one that I will use.
Yeah, and then you can just copy that ID over and put it in that field back in Web IDE.
Okay. Take care of that.
Okay, and then the destination name is also back over in mobile services. As you remember, we added that garage backend service, or the destination to mobile services under connectivity. So you're going to copy that ID as well. So you click on, the garage attendees and copy your destination name. And now your MDK project in Web IDE will know how to access your data.
Okay.
Okay, and one important checkbox here at the bottom is Enable Offline Store. Today we'll be building an offline app, unless we want to have that checked. If you're going to do an online app, maybe you have, for some reason, data that's constantly being updated and you want to have access to that, immediately, you would uncheck that before continuing.
Gotcha. Okay, so we'll leave that checked. Enable offline store. Very nice. Okay. Okay, so clearly here, like when I click on this for the first time, I'm like, what's going on? So I guess what we're seeing here is, as a result of that service configuration, it's popped over, it's basically invoked that service. We can see the metadata associated with that OData service, and it's telling us, okay, you've got an attendees structure with an email address, a first name, a last name, and a role, and we can now use those elements inside of our app.
Right. It's a very good sign. It means that it can read it, everything's fine, and we're good to go.
Right. So if it's blank, you've probably done something wrong.
That's right. If it's blank, it actually can't read the OData service, or the destination or something that points to it is wrong.
Right. Okay. So now we can see there's two new entries here: a garage service.service and a garage service.xml. Okay, that's good.
Okay, and we can close this in the layout editor. We won't need this anymore.
All right. Excellent.
Okay.
Step one.
Step one done. Step two, let's create our page. So if we right-click on the Pages folder, we can select New MDK Page.
Looks like we have some choices here.
Yeah, we have two templates. One, Form Cell, is more for editing information. If you have an edit page or a create new page where you're actually editing or adding info, everything else is a section page, and we're going to be creating a section page. We're going to have a list of attendees.
Okay.
And just hit next. Yep. And then here you want to give it a name for your page that makes sense.
Okay.
Next.
That's
and
easy.
Finish. Yep. And so it'll create the page, and it'll also open it up for you in the layout editor. Great. And so now you see all of the controls on the left. The one that we're actually going to use is the contact cell table, which is right under compound. And just drag that over to your page.
All right. So it looks like it has a structure already associated with it, more or less.
Yeah, this one's a nice one that I like to use for a list of users or customers, because it has a few fields that you can just add some data to, and it also has those app to device icons. When you click on them from your device, it brings up phone or video calling or email directly without you having to actually code any of that stuff in. So this is one of my favorites.
Okay. All right.
So the first thing we want to do is we want to go over to Target and have it point to a specific entity set or data. So let's open up the object browser and tell it which data set that we're going to use.
Right. So every time you say the object browser today on this call, which I've gotten used to you telling me over the past couple of days, it's basically clicking the paperclip, right? Or the
yes.
Yeah, the paperclip object. Okay, perfect. All right, got this. And then attendees.
Yep.
And then it looks like we've got something here also, Sue, under query options. Can you give us a little, just a few words on what that would be?
Yeah, so you may have a lot of data underneath, say attendees, and maybe you want to just query the ones in a certain region, whether it's North America or Asia Pac or Europe or something like that, or you want to just filter the 10 most recent attendees. So you can use that to just query the results so you don't bring back everything.
Okay, so we can really filter it down. But otherwise, we'll just keep it okay today because we have a very limited data set. I think I have one record in my table right now, but we'll add a few more later, so that shouldn't be a problem. But I'll say okay. And then you can see right away that it breaks out the entity set, and it has the service broken down here as a result of selecting that object. Okay.
Yep. And so the next thing we're going to do is we're just going to put some data into those fields. So you can see that we have headline, subheadline, and description. So we're going to replace that with actual data from your backend. So you can choose maybe headline first if you want, and select the data that you want there, whether it's last name or first name.
Okay, I'll pick last name. And then the same idea, I use the object browser to pick another one, I guess, first name.
Right.
All right.
And then description. I think you had role, so maybe you can go over and open up the object browser and replace that hard-coded description with the role of that person.
Okay. All right, that was easy.
Yeah. And then if we scroll down a little bit, you can see that we have a search section. And if you want to set search to true, this allows you to search the list. If you have I know that we don't have a long list, but if you had a long list, you can search the list.
Okay.
And the one right below it is barcode scanner. One of the nice features of Mobile Development Kit for a list is that if you just enable that to true on your device, it puts a little barcode scanner icon there in the list, and then you can scan attendees too. If you have, like a badge or something, and you want to scan the attendee, or you want to search for an attendee using a, QR code or barcode, it will add that automatically for you.
Very nice. Very nice. And I guess one of the things that you and I were talking about earlier this week, so when we're doing the search, because we flagged this application earlier as an offline application, what we're doing is we're searching the data that's been offline on the mobile app, right? It's not going back to the server. It's actually searching what's local on the device, correct?
That's right. That's right.
Okay. Awesome. Okay. What else do I need to do here? There's some other options we've got available to us.
Yeah. A lot of these are optional, but I often put a search placeholder so that the end user knows what they're typing in. So whether it's attendee search or something that gives them some info.
Like that?
Yes, sure.
Perfect. All right, let's go.
Okay, and then in the data section, as I mentioned, this is where you have the app to device integration, and so you want icons there that when you click on it, it's going to bring up the device action. I believe we don't have video or phone data, so we can always delete the extras, but we can probably use email.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I guess I map this now through the object browser back to the email that we have in here.
That's right.
Okay. All right.
Okay, and then the last thing again, which is optional, is because I like to know that my app is working properly for the empty section, I often put a caption in there. So if no records come back, I just have it say, no attendees found. or something that lets you know that it worked, but didn't find any data.
Okay.
Okay, and
nice.
our page is built, so we can save our changes.
Okay, so now for people that are on the phone, you may or may not have your editor through the preferences set up to automatically save. You can see, I think mine is set to save every 30 seconds or something like that. So just make sure that you've got the gray symbol, and if it's black, just click it to make sure it's gray. So everything gets saved off. Okay, that's cool. Great.
Okay, so now that we have our page saved, what we want to do now is we're going to create some actions. And because we're doing an offline app, we're going to create an offline action to allow when the app is started up or initially downloads the data into the store, and it gets the app ready to be offline. So if you go to Actions and right-click and say New MDK Action.
Okay.
Okay, and you can see there are a lot of actions here that you can take advantage of, whether it's messages or data actions or push notifications, but we're going to type in offline to filter these actions. There it is, offline action, and just hit next.
All right.
And you want to give it a name that you'll remember. If you have a bunch of actions later, you want to have a name that you're going to remember what it is later. So something like, initialize offline or something descriptive. Okay, and then the type there, it's already defaulted to what we want, initialize, but there are other options, upload, download, clear and close, things like that. But we want to initialize for this one.
Okay. Defining requests. Now, what is this all about?
Yeah, so this is where we want to select the data that we want to download initially. So we're going to click on the plus sign, and you see under query there, you have that little object browser icon. So we're going to click on that, and we're going to select the attendees data set.
Okay. All right. So this would kind of tell me that I could create different actions with different data sets, more or less, right?
That's right. Okay, and then you can type in attendees here as the name.
Just going back just for a second. So it looks like, my interpretation, as when I get your thoughts on it, my interpretation is the actions that are provided with the MDK, it gives people like a lot of capability that they get access to. Like this whole offline piece, having done offline in a previous life, I know how complicated that is. And it looks like we've basically made it really, really easy for anybody to come in here and say, I'm going to build an offline app. And we've got 4 or 5 different actions that they can choose from to make it super simple. That's my impression.
That's right, yeah. Yeah, offline is a key use case for us for, asset manager. They have a lot of people that work offline out in the field. You can't trust that the cell coverage is going to be there. And so we wanted to make it as easy as possible to be able to add offline capabilities.
All right. So we have one action done. What's next?
Okay. What we're going to do is we're going to add some messages so that the end user can know whether the offline download succeeded successfully. So we're going to go back to our actions and add a few messages to tie to this offline action.
Okay.
Okay, and then you can type in messages or message.
All right.
Yep, and we're going to use the message action. And again, here, you want to give it a name. Well, this one can be our success message, and you want to give it a name that you'll remember it's the success message.
Okay. What's that? Just like that?
Yeah, sure. And then there's different types for success. It's often recommended that you do a toast message. A toast message just appears for a few seconds and then goes away, because if it's successful, they don't need to click OK. And so, toast. And then the message will just say something that tells them that their data downloaded successfully, that things are working well. Okay, and then for duration, you want to specify how many seconds you want it to stay up. So often I do about 3.
Okay.
And we want it to be animated.
All right.
and then next and finish. And that's our success message.
All right. So I'm guessing we need a failure message.
Yep. And we can close this success action. We don't need it anymore.
Okay.
But we'll leave the offline one up.
Okay.
Okay. And then, yep, actions. We'll do another one for failure. So type in message again.
And then the same thing, a toast message for the failure, or you want to put a message, a regular message for a failure?
Yeah, we're going to do type message because we want it to be a pop-up that they actually have to take action on. We want them to know something is wrong and to contact your admin. So this message will tell them that you want to tell them that the data did not download successfully, so they know what is going on.
Okay.
And then the title or the banner header for the message window.
All right.
And then what you want the OK button to say, right? And that's it. That's the failure message.
Beautiful. All right. I got a failure. I got an initialize.
Yeah.
And I have
so
a
we'll
success.
Close the failure. Yeah, and we'll close the failure message here in the window. And now for the offline, expand out common action properties. And this is where you can. It's already open. Yeah.
Yep.
And this is where you can attach your success and failure messages, and we'll also add a check activity indicator. So here you can use a dropdown or the object browser, or you can just start typing success. Either one works. We try and make it as easy as possible.
All right.
And then for failure, you want to find the failure one.
So like you said, I can just type in FA and yep, boom, find that pretty quick. Okay, nice.
Yeah, but it'll filter your list for you. Okay, and then last thing, if you want to scroll down, we want to, sometimes if you have a lot of data, you want to show activity indicator. You want to check that box at the bottom. If you have a lot of data that's coming down, you want to let people know that your app isn't frozen, like it's actually downloading some data initially, and then you can type the message that appears as it's still downloading the data. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
And let's save our action.
And see, this time my icon is still black, so it hasn't automatically saved, so I will hit save. Okay, good. Okay, sounds good.
Okay, and we'll actually create 2 more actions because it's an offline app, and I know that we're going to, see attendees and maybe add some attendees. We want to have sync capabilities to sync from our device to the back end. So if you go back to offline, we're going to add an upload and a download action to upload anything that's changed on the device and download data from the back end. And let's, upload.
Okay.
And type is upload.
All right, that's easy.
Yep.
It almost seems too easy as I'm doing this, to be honest. Knowing what's behind the covers, it's knowing what's actually required to do that. It's quite impressive. Just in my humble opinion, I know I work for SAP. I'm a bit jaded, but still, it's impressive. Okay, I got an upload, and then I need to do one more, right? You said.
And a download, right? And for our little app today, we're just going to do the download, but I wanted to show you like how you would combine those 2 actions together and how easy that is. So now we'll do select download.
Okay.
And hit next.
Perfect. And define a request. I guess this would be in the case where I'm defining something else, right? If it was a different data set that I needed, but here I think we're okay, right? Because we're not changing the data set.
Right, that's right.
Okay. Beautiful. Okay. All right.
Okay, and now what we're going to do is we're going to, like I said, we're going to daisy chain or put these 2 actions together. So let's go over to if you click on the upload action there in your layout editor, what we want to do under common action properties is if the upload is successful, we want it to move on to the download. So go ahead and find your download action.
Okay.
And then to save time, we can just reuse our messages. So if it failed, let's reuse our failure message. Yeah.
Okay.
And then you can just save and close this one if it doesn't already save automatically. All
good so far. And then we want to do the same thing with downloads.
Yeah, with download, because it's at the end of the daisy chain, you can just reuse a success message if it succeeded, and the failure one if it failed.
Okay.
And
All right.
save and close this one too.
All right. Save and close. Beautiful.
Yep. And we're done with the initialize offline too, so we can get that out of the way as well.
Okay.
Okay.
So we have our screen. Sorry, just to recap. So far, right, we started off by creating our service. We created a page. We then created some actions. But I mean, one thing that's pretty clear that we didn't do, like we didn't create a database for this mobile application, right? So it leads one to think, at least for myself, when I started playing with this MDK, well, where do I create my actual offline database? But as you've educated me on over the past week, this is all happening in behind the scenes. So we're going to generate that on your behalf, initialize it, load it up with the data. So in fact, the people that are building the app, they don't have to worry about that.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. When you do those actions, we have all that, that code in the back end to do that automatically for you.
So it doesn't look like a lot here. Sorry, it doesn't look like a lot here, but a lot is happening behind the scenes, which is amazing. Okay, which is why we have a great development team in behind. Okay, cool.
That's right. So we have our page up again, and we added those upload and download actions, and we want to add an action onto our page. We want to add a button onto our page to call those actions. So in the control palette, you have that action bar item.
Yeah, right here.
Let's drag that over onto the top to the right of the garage attendees. And we can call it sync or something that that it's to sync your data.
Sure.
And then in that property palette for events, if you click on that, you can call your action. So click on the icon to bring up the object browser, and we're actually going to call the upload action. Because if you remember, the upload action will call the download, so it's the first one in our series.
Right, gotcha. Okay.
Okay, and then we save these changes if it isn't already saved.
Gotcha.
Okay, and then one more step before we deploy, we want to open up our application.app. This is the configuration file for our MDK project. It handles a lot of different events that go on. The first thing that we want to change is, you can see in the first section there, it has a main page, which is like the starting page for your app. We want to change it from main page to the one that we created, which is the garage attendees.
Okay.
Yep. And then if we scroll down, we want to tell it what to do when our app launches in the device. So on launch, we want it to call that initialize offline action so that it, creates the store, it downloads the initial data.
Okay.
And we also want to do that again if someone made a change to the app, change the pages, we want it to go through that whole process again. So on did update, we want to also call the initialize offline action.
Okay.
Okay, and then make sure that this is saved.
Yep, I'll save that. Very good.
And that's it. We've built our app. So we just need to deploy it.
Well, let's check this out. So I guess very similar to other perspectives in the Web IDE, when you right-click the project name, lo and behold, we get something here called deploy and activate. So let's let's recap what'll happen here. So what's going to happen, what should happen, is that this project should be bundled up. We'll just walk through the steps here, but we'll deselect, I believe you told me, the download bundle to local machine because we're uploading the bundle to mobile services. So we're going to take this content, the metadata for the application, and basically deploy it over to SAP Cloud Platform mobile services, right? And then the next question, of course, becomes, well, then, okay, that's fine, but how do I then actually use the app? And so one of the prerequisites was which I forgot to bring up in a browser. If I go to the Apple Store mobile services client, we sent out an email which pointed people towards this mobile services client. And so this has been published by SAP as a generic client for the purposes of testing. But I guess, Sue, can you just comment now, though? I'm sure there's lots of people that are on the phone that are wondering, well, that's no good. I wanted to have, I see some people on the phone from, or on the event from Loblaws or Chevron. If I wanted to have my logo there, how would that work?
Yeah, like I mentioned in the overview, if you wanted to have your own custom icon, your own custom name, there are two different ways that you can build your own clients. You use Cloud Build Service to build your client, or you can use the MDK SDK and download that to your Mac or Windows. Mac, you can do both iOS and Android clients, and on Windows, you can do the Android client. But Scott, one thing I wanted to point out before you go over to your client, I think when you did the deploy, it defaulted to a Garage Test app, and we want to make sure that we deploy to the right mobile services application.
Okay.
So let's go through
back.
Yeah. So
next, you're right.
Yeah. So
right here. Good catch.
Yeah. So since you have multiple in there now, you want to make sure that you're deploying to the mobile services app that's already connected to your client.
Gotcha. Good catch. Very good catch. And so what we're going to do now, for everybody on the phone, what I'd like to do is I'm going to try it. I want to make sure that, so I'll actually get set up here while we're doing that. I'm going to try it on my phone. And then for anybody that installed the mobile services client, I'd like for you to try it. And then what I'm hoping you will do is you will take a picture of that, and then you would tweet it. You would tweet it out, put a hashtag SCP Garage, and then maybe tag me in it. And then we'll see what happens after that. Perhaps we will send the first 3 tweets, the first 3 people to send a tweet with a picture of that. If they get it working, we'll send you a t-shirt maybe. I think so. I've got I've got my reflector up here. So let's just make sure that I can see my phone, which should pop up any second. Yeah, which is right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop over, and yes, I know for those on the phone, I have a lot of apps. My kids are always teasing me about that, and I'm going to pick the, hold on, made this mistake earlier today. When I posted a video, everybody saw my password, which I immediately had to change. And let's go back here. So it says your data was downloaded successfully, and we can see we have 1 record, and we can also see that we have the attendee search best webinar ever, and we have, of course, this barcode. So now if I quickly go over, so that works. So this is like a hurrah moment, and I'm sure there's lots of people that are applauding on the phone. So let's do a refresh of this registration app, and because my name is not currently in there, and we'll just add a record, keep things simple here. We'll register that record. And then for those of you that participated last time, you know that we set up a workflow. And of course, this is also timed out, so I'm going to have to sign out and then sign back in to see it. So you can see now on the screen that I've got 1 item in my inbox to be approved, which I will do very quickly. So here's my record. I will approve that. I will go back, and now we see that that record has been inserted into that HANA database. So now if I go back quickly here, and, let's see if I go back to here. It says it's still mirroring it. Where did it go? Where did it go? I might have to stop mirroring and restart. Yeah, it's, hold on. I have to do it one more time. Seems like when my screen blacks out, it stops it. Okay, try one more time. There we go. So let's go back to the app. And now if I sync my app, what I should see is a second record show up. So there you go. So I got Scott, I got Dylan. This is very nice. And then of course, if I were to also show you, perhaps I have a barcode up here where I just generated a barcode with my name. So if I pick this guy and I go back to here, I just scanned the QR code on my screen. Of course, I get that and it finds a record. So that's I think that's a really nice, simple end-to-end demo using a HANA OData service through the MDK deployed to the mobile services client. Now here's your chance to participate. So if I were to bring up this QR code, what should happen, and we'll see if anybody wants to play with us on the phone and send a tweet and maybe receive a t-shirt in the mail. If I were to expand this a little bit, for people that have an iPhone, all you need to do, if you have the mobile services client installed, is scan that QR code with your iPhone. Do not start the mobile services client. Scan this first. It'll prompt you to open up the mobile services client with the data that links to my mobile application. And it should download, and you should see the 2 records that we have in there. So what would be really interesting is if you send a tweet and you tag me and tag the SAP Garage, we'll know it's you because you'll have, unless you've been clever and taken a screenshot of my screen, but if you have it on your phone and then put it in there, that'd be pretty interesting to see. And we would appreciate that. So let's go back. We're like 2 minutes from the end. So let's stop screen sharing. Hopefully some of you have grabbed that QR code. We'll quickly pop back to the On24. We do have a poll question here. We always ask people if they want to schedule a one-on-one with myself and or Sue. We don't reach out to anybody on these sessions unless you ask us to. That's our kind of agreement with you. And there's a whole bunch of, that's the way we've been doing. That's the way we'll continue to do it. So we'll leave this here for 30 seconds. And then we want to show you the 2 next sessions that are coming up. And just one other thing while you're looking at, while you're answering that poll, there is a really nice MDK app on the App Store. So if you download the Asset Manager application from the App Store, you will see in there a really nice looking app, and that was built with the MDK. So today we built like a one screen, a couple of fields with an email and a barcode, but inside the Asset Manager, you'll see all kinds of interesting layouts. You'll see some charts, which you might be asking, how do we do that? Calendars, anyway, you name it, go in there and have a look. Can you please bring the IRQ code? I'll bring it back for 1 second.
Yeah.
I got to share my screen here. Sorry, go ahead,
for
Sue.
me, Scott, I don't know if it wasn't big enough. It didn't scan for me. I don't know if others are having similar problems.
Let's bring it back. Let's bring it back one more time. Let me know, Sue, if you're able to see it. I'll make it much bigger. How's that? You let me know, Sue, if you can scan it.
Yeah. Yep, I finally scanned.
Okay. Okay, cool. So hopefully a few of you got the QR code to scan, and we have to wrap it up. So I'll just quickly go back. I'll stop sharing again, and I'll just bring up the last slide. So we've got 2 sessions that we can tell you about now. So the next one is the Internet of Things that we're going to do on December 11th. So it's really only in 3 weeks. We're going to do a session on Internet of Things, how to use IoT foundational services on cloud platform to maybe connect to and grab some data from a sensor. And then the second one is going to be mobile cards. So we just lined up our speaker, our next mechanic, so for January 23rd. And what we're planning to do is show you now how to take mobile cards. And when you saw the Fury inbox earlier, we were doing the approvals inside the inbox. We're hoping that we will take that approval process and bring it to mobile using mobile cards. But thank you, Sue. Well done. Thank you for the expert guided instruction. And of course, thank you everybody on the phone who attended today. Really appreciate it. And like you say, if you have other ideas that were not on the list of items that we published, then please, by all means, put them in the chat or tweet me, email me. I'm always around. So thank you very much, everybody. Take care. I think Henry can end the session, I think.